I discovered an incredible secret about my son's party, an amazing twist that changed everything. Sarah stood in her cramped living room, the air thick with the smell of cheap balloons and crumpled streamers sprawled across every available surface. Tomorrow was Jake's 10th birthday, and she was spiraling in a whirlpool of anxiety. How could she make this day special? Her hands trembled as she flipped through the half-finished decorations. The reality of their financial struggle loomed ominously. A quick check of her phone confirmed her worst fears. Another message from work begging for extra shifts at the hospital. More money was vital. But could she tear herself away from planning her son's day? A wave of guilt crashed over her. What if she failed to create a moment for Jake that felt magical? She cast her eyes toward the clock, and her heart raced. Time was slipping away, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the other parents would be judging her for the simplicity of her plans. Linda's party for her son had already been whispered about as an extravaganza, an event that promised to leave no doubt about wealth and status. Sarah could already envision the glances from those impeccably dressed parents at school. They wouldn't see her effort, only the hollow echoes of her modest setup. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Stepping into the attic later that evening, a chill crept down Sarah's spine as she dusted off an old box. It was heavy and dusty, coated with memories of a father she missed dearly. She paused, apprehension gnawing at her. What would she find? Inside, brittle letters and photographs danced in the soft attic light. Her father's dreams unfolded, a scholarship fund for gifted kids in the community. A sense of warmth enveloped her, but anxiety quickly followed. Could the legacy of kindness and support exist alongside the judgmental atmosphere that Linda had cultivated? As the birthday countdown ticked closer, a harsh realization settled in. The party she had envisioned for Jake might be overshadowed by extravagance. Her chest tightened at the thought of Jake's excitement being snuffed out against the backdrop of lavish balloons and catered food. A bead of sweat trickled down her spine. Perhaps the secret she had found could be shared. Her heart surged with hope, but it was restrained by self-doubt. Could she stand in front of their classmates and their parents, truly unveil her father's gifts, and inspire unity amidst the competitive landscape? Just when her mind felt like it would implode under the pressure, the thought of their brave little laughter lifted her heart. But that shadow of Linda loomed ever larger, growing more unsettling as the party approached. If she chose to use her father's legacy as a beacon of inclusion, would it resonate? Would they care? Sarah felt the weight of expectation pinning her down. Tomorrow would be crucial. Would she fail to reshape this narrative, or could this birthday bring a flicker of hope? The last dreadful words pounded fiercely in her mind as she stood there. Reclaim the honor, or surrender? Tomorrow's uncertainty pressed heavily, leaving her breathless at the brink of possibility. Sarah woke up the next morning with a sense of foreboding tightening her chest. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the cluttered space around her. The decorations were almost comically minimal, but the thought of extravagance nagged at her. This palpable need to match Linda's perfect affair clashed violently with her desire to honor her father's legacy. Jake bounded down the stairs, his laughter ringing like music, oblivious to the whirlwind that engulfed her. His enthusiasm momentarily eased her anxiety, reminding her of the true purpose of today. This wasn't about competing with other parents. It was about celebrating the joyous spirit of her son, wasn't it? Yet the nagging little voice in her head kept insisting that she should strive for something grander. The clock ticked as she set up the modest spread of homemade cupcakes and soda. Each click of the second hand seemed to echo her doubts. Could a simple gathering ever mirror the grandiosity she envisioned for Jake? The pressure to transform her kitchen into a Pinterest-worthy space felt relentless. She caught her reflection in the window, the weariness etched on her face stark against the cheerful backdrop. All her professional skills as a nurse, focused, diligent, resilient, seemed dim against the expectations of motherhood swirling in her mind. Determined, Sarah took a deep breath and approached the box from the attic. She needed to do something different, something that would make Jake's birthday resonate. Not just with him, but with all those judgmental eyes. What if she could weave her father's spirit into the festivities? The thought ignited a flicker of inspiration. Instead of wallowing in the pit of insecurity, she could honor his legacy by encouraging the kids to create something together. Her decision felt empowering. This could be the moment she transforms the traditional birthday celebration into an experience steeped in community and creativity. She gathered art supplies, sending out a text to the other parents. Please bring your kids' creativity. We'll have a DIY craft station at Jake's party where everyone can contribute. Anxiety twirled in her gut at the thought of the responses. Would they dismiss her idea? But there was an undeniable thrill in her plan, like a gentle wind propelling her forward. As kids arrived, she held her breath. They filed into the living room with bright eyes and eager hands. Laughter spilled over the walls like confetti, and for the first time, Sarah felt a sense of celebration begin to fill the air. The transformation from a quiet affair to a vibrant gathering floored her. Jake's voice sliced through her anxiety. Look, Mom, they love it. Intertwining the spirit of her father with each crafted piece, a painted rock here, a collage there, invited an atmosphere rich with creativity and joy. The parents gathered around, their skeptical expressions morphing into smiles as they saw their children engrossed. But as the day progressed, Sarah caught sight of Linda, perched at the edge of the gathering with a disapproving frown. The tension electrified the air. Would Linda's judgmental gaze tarnish the warmth blooming in her heart? Sarah's heart raced, caught between her burgeoning confidence and the ghost of competition. Would she allow Linda's standards to eclipse the joy of what was being created right before her? As Jake rushed over with an armful of painted masterpieces, his eyes bright with pride, Sarah faced the turning point. The path she embarked on had ignited a flame of hope, yet the challenge loomed, ready to confront her resolve. Would she stand firm against this undercurrent of judgment, or let it extinguish the spark of authenticity she had worked so hard to cultivate? The weight of the moment hung heavy as she took a deep breath, ready to face the reality ahead. A reality that promised to shift the foundation of her confidence. In her heart, the question simmered fiercely. How far was she willing to go to defend this moment against the scrutiny she feared? As laughter echoed around her, Sarah's focus slipped from the joy of Jake's party to the weight of Linda's presence, a silent specter hovering at the edge of the gathering. Each moment spent crafting with the children filled her with pride, yet that creeping sense of inadequacy returned like a persistent itch. Maybe it was the notion that her gathering, vibrant as it was, still felt unfinished. Unpolished, Jake, oblivious to the tension surrounding his mother, charged toward his friends, showcasing the myriad paintings that filled the living room with color and chaos. Sarah's heart swelled at his joy, but the clarity of Linda's disapproval gnawed at her. She caught Linda's selective glances toward the empty corners of the room, as if her standards were a scale she could wield against Sarah. Was this inclination to please others worth the strain on her own spirit? The thought posed a dilemma. Was there a distinction between being a good mother and conforming to someone else's idea of perfection? The combination of creativity and community she attempted to cultivate felt like a direct challenge to the notions of motherhood that Linda had so meticulously honed. With every passing minute, Sarah faced the paradox of personal satisfaction and the specter of social expectations. She longed to commit to this honor of her father's beliefs, but how could she not feel the weight of Linda's critical gaze? Perhaps she could steer the focus away from her own project and into the children's expressions of creativity. As the party swirled into bright and boisterous carnival-like sounds, she gathered her breath and stepped forward, determined to solidify her mission. "Hey, everyone! How about we showcase our masterpieces over there?" Sarah gestured to the makeshift display corner, a choice both authentic and strategic. "Let's create an art gallery and share what we made." The enthusiasm rippled through the kids, a dozen voices chattering in joyful bursts as they scampered to set up the artwork. Jake grabbed Sarah's hand, excitement flaring in his eyes. It was positively contagious, a moment where boundless joy filled the void that had threatened to eclipse her spirit. Yet as much as she attempted to bask in the festivities, the ominous weight of judgment hovered, heavily occupying her thoughts alongside pride. In action, she seemed not to cower under the pressure, but the internal battle remained nagging. She positioned herself in the center of their chaotic brilliance and took one deliberate step forward. "If I stick true to my vision," she whispered to herself, though her voice caught in the chaotic delight surrounding her. Then, in an unexpected twist, a sharp voice cut through the joyous clamor. "Seriously, Sarah? An art station? How quaint." It was Linda, her sarcasm slicing jagged through the mirthful atmosphere. A room full of giggles faltered, and Sarah felt her heart plummet, the weight of her confidence dissipating like steam in the air. Why did she allow Linda's words to strike so hard? The realization hit with stinging clarity. Within the depths of her insecurities lingered a pervasive fear of failure, not just in the eyes of her peers, but also in Jake's. The looming question remained. Was she pursuing depth in her son's celebration, or merely accommodating to external expectations? Panic rushed through her veins as she confronted Linda's gaze, filled with disdain. She could feel her own shoulders tighten defensively. The time had come to deliberate each decision anew, to own her choices without apology. Was it possible that standing in the face of criticism could ignite the authenticity she sought to maintain? In a moment of vulnerability, yet burgeoning strength, she pivoted towards Jake, whose happiness radiated brighter than any decoration could. "This day is for you, kiddo." Her voice caught the eyes of other parents, an unyielding tone behind her words, rallying support where she had feared rejection. The resilience within grew, setting the stage for confrontation. Not merely with Linda, but with her own self-perceptions. The narrative of her life need not adhere to anyone else's design. It could unfold with creativity all its own. But just as she found strength in this newfound clarity, her phone buzzed with a notification, alerting her to a message she hadn't expected. An invitation to an exclusive community gala, where extravagant expectations awaited. A flicker of anxiety rippled through her. Was this another moment where life pressed her to choose who she intended to be? Perspective shifted, and now more than ever, the stakes felt dramatically higher. Would she pursue that safe social haven, or forge ahead with the raw authenticity awakening within her? Amid the haze of colorful paper and giggling children, Sarah stood momentarily paralyzed by the flickering light of her phone. The invitation to the gala was a beacon of the city's high society allure. Yet all it really represented was a mirror reflecting her own insecurities and desires. The offered elegance felt starkly at odds with the creative chaos of her living room, where Jake's laughter bubbled like fresh paint on a canvas. Her heart raced. What would attending that gala mean for her self-image? It whispered promises of validation, the kind that Linda seemed to embody, merely by her presence. Yet the very thought of leaving the joyous chaos, The messy gallery of children's artwork and their bright-eyed wonder filled her with dread. "Mom, come look!" Jake's small voice broke through her turmoil, snapping her focus back. He was beaming, showcasing a crookedly hung painting they had made together. The piece was vibrant, but imperfect. It was raw, a burst of unrefined expression reflecting their shared creativity. His joyful enthusiasm was a stark contrast to the polished pretense that the gala represented. In that moment of joy, a realization dawned on her, a revelation that ignited a flicker of courage deep within her. If her decisions were influenced by a fear of judgment, they were anxiously steering her away from the very essence of who she wanted to be. There, amidst the tension between two worlds, she noticed a critical gap, the space between expectation and authenticity. How had she let external opinions shape her choices for so long? "Sarah!" Linda's voice broke through her thoughts again, unyielding and sharp. "Did you even consider what we talked about last time? Your son's party is cute, but..." The uninvited pang of irritation flared within her. Why should she cater her vision to suit Linda's standards? Instinctively, she straightened her posture, the weight of years spent conforming striking her as undeniably misguided. Wasn't the purpose to celebrate Jake and his unique spirit? A defiance swirled around her words, surprising even herself. As she looked at the other parents who had gathered around, amused by Jake's and his friends' antics, she felt a swell of support. They were laughing, engaging in conversations animated by the joy and ease of the moment. For the first time, she recognized that the camaraderie she yearned for didn't come from societal approval, but from a shared experience of acceptance in authenticity. "Think of this as a launch pad," she told herself. "This is where I start the journey towards being unapologetically myself." It was a shaky, yet exhilarating prospect, so distinctly outside her comfort zone that it evoked both fear and exhilaration. The tantalizing contrast of the upcoming gala and the spontaneous art extravaganza began to solidify her perspective. She could chart a path where she embraced both. Authenticity, interwoven with the confidence that stemmed from self-acceptance. Maybe she did not have to follow the safe path laid by societal expectations. Determined to embrace her unique vision for herself and Jake, Sarah took a deep breath, willing herself not to buckle under Linda's criticism or the allure of acceptance that the gala promised. She needed to redefine success on her own terms. As the party danced around her, she turned back to Jake and crouched down, looking him straight in the eye. "Let's both show the world who we are, okay?" Suddenly her phone buzzed again, the eyes of the group lingering on her with anticipation. She hesitated before lifting her phone, only to discover another message. This time not from the gala, but an unexpected notification about her recently submitted art project. It was an opportunity she hadn't even considered, an art exhibition in a local gallery that could validate her through her own creative vision. Could this invitation hold the key to unlocking her identity as an artist and a mother? The thought electrified her, awakening a new resolve. As the laughter erupted around her, the stakes had suddenly shifted. Would she pursue this unexpected path and solidify her ambitions, or retreat to the shadow of glittering expectations? Sarah's decision hung in the balance, the next chapter of her journey presenting itself in stark clarity. The art exhibition invitation flickered in Sarah's mind, reframing everything she had built up to that point. Each brushstroke she had applied to her work echoed the chaotic beauty of her life, a life that was unfiltered and real. Ignoring Linda's expectations felt like tearing down the suffocating walls she'd encased herself in. She watched Jake laughing with his friends, their faces shimmering with joy, pure and unapologetic. With newfound clarity, she realized that this exhibition was not just a chance for artistic recognition. It was a crucible for her own identity. She had been so consumed by the fear of what others thought, especially Linda, that she had neglected to acknowledge her own talents and aspirations. "Mom, can I paint some more?" Jake's question broke into a reverie, his little hands clutching a brush, eager to create. The innocence in his voice stirred something deep within her. This was a chance to not only encourage his artistic instincts, but also to reaffirm her commitment to her own craft. "Of course, buddy," she beamed, an idea sparking in her mind. "Why don't we create something for the exhibition together?" The thrill rushed through her, igniting a fresh sense of purpose. This was the moment she could fuse her role as a mother and an artist, showing Jake the importance of pursuing one's passions. If she was going to embrace authenticity, she needed to model that determination for him. The exhibition became more than a showcase of her art. It symbolized a joint venture of their creativity. They set to work in their living room, splashes of color mingling with laughter. Sarah felt the thrill of creation racing through her veins. Every movement of the brush became a dance of liberation. She relished how the canvas transformed under their shared touch, a living testament to their bond. But beneath that exhilaration lurked deeper questions. Would this be enough? Would what she created resonate within herself, or would its validity still depend on external approval? The shadow of the gala reminded her of that harsh reality. The judgment lurking behind glittering social events threatened to overshadow her artistic triumph. As the day melted into evening, Sarah's phone chimed again. This time a group message from Linda. "Can't wait to see you at the gala. It's vital for you to network and get your name out there, especially with your recent works. You don't want to miss this opportunity." The words twisted in her stomach, rekindling conflicted emotions. The gala symbolized acceptance, but at what cost? Was she willing to sacrifice the unique expression she had recently ignited within herself for a fleeting moment of validation? As doubts bubbled within her, Jake's small hand clasped hers, grounding her. "This is our painting, Mom. We make it together." His unwavering belief in their creation lit a spark. The contrast between their vibrancy and the polished veneer Linda represented became clearer. Maybe authentic acknowledgement stemmed from within, from actions that echoed self-acceptance rather than appeasing societal norms. With her heart racing, Sarah dropped her phone on the table, the pulse of her newfound conviction stronger than the allure of the gala. Painting had started as a passion, rekindled by her son, and what lay ahead was more than an exhibition. It was an unfolding revelation that stood at the precipice of everything she wanted to be. "Let's make this painting count," she said to Jake, determination threading every word. "And let's make a plan for that exhibition." Yet, inside her, a new tension brewed. Would she still go to the gala and face Linda's well-meaning pressure, or would she choose her own path, emboldened by that choice? A decision loomed just out of reach, poised to alter the trajectory of her life forever. What the future held remained uncertain, a blank canvas waiting for the next stroke. As dawn broke, a sliver of light crept into Sarah's studio, illuminating their unfinished masterpiece. The canvas, once blank, was now a riot of colors. Bold strokes representing their shared laughter, gentle swirls encapsulating their soft conversations. Yet beneath that vibrancy, shadows of doubt lingered, threatening to seep back into her psyche. "Jake," she murmured, her voice soft and uncertain. "Do you think people will like what we made?" His brow furrowed as he considered her question, the weight of it beyond his years. "Mom, I like it. That's what matters, right?" His innocent conviction felt like a tether to her own voice, almost drowned out by Linda's expectations. She had spent years shaping her identity around societal validation. Each exhibition, every critique held a weight she desperately wanted to unload. But now she found herself at a crossroads. Create for herself, or to fill external molds? The paintbrush felt heavier in her hand, a reminder of her own insecurities. Was she truly capable of carving out her artistic space against the backdrop of towering expectations? The notion of attending the gala crawled back into her mind, soaking up approval at the risk of sacrificing her newfound authenticity. With a shaking breath, she approached the canvas, ready to pour her inner chaos into a stroke that might bring clarity. But before she could lay down color, visions of the gala seeped into her thoughts. Images of her peers mingled with the terrible weight of judgment, each interaction a potential dagger. Would they see her as she was, or as she had been peddled for so long? "Mom!" Jake's small voice broke her reverie again. "Can I add some blue here?" His finger pointed at an area that had yet to be touched, a blank space on their canvas that mirrored the blanks in her heart. "Absolutely," she encouraged, her voice recentering as she watched him dip the brush. The lively blue he added echoed the spark of joy he brought into the studio. Suddenly, Sarah was struck by a revelation. This artistic endeavor wasn't just about her anymore. It was a legacy, a lesson for Jake, layered within the colors now blooming before her. She realized in this moment the most important validation didn't lie within the fancy frames or galleries, but within those genuine connections she fostered, especially with her son. Was this her true exhibit? One wholly untouched by Linda or the outside world? "Let's do something daring," Sarah proposed, newfound defiance stirring deep within her. "Like what?" Jake asked, his eyes sparkling with curiosity. "Let's fill this canvas with everything we are. Every doubt, every laugh, everything we love." Jake's smile spread wide. "Yes, like a secret." As they painted, layer after layer, Sarah felt liberation wash over her. The studio vibrated with an energy she had longed for, where parental guidance intertwined seamlessly with her artistic identity. Each brushstroke became a powerful declaration. This was their paint, their story. Yet, as they created, the tension of the approaching gala gnawed at her. The choice remained complex, a dichotomy painted between two worlds: safety and vulnerability, tradition and boldness. Could she stand firm in her identity amidst Linda's expected norms? Taking a step back to assess their work, she observed the complexity that had emerged from the chaos. A reflection not just of their partnership, but of who she had wanted to become. Authenticity, layered like paint, became more than surface as it embedded itself within her heart. "Mom," Jake ventured, breaking the reflective moment. "Do you think people will see this and know it was made with love? Will they feel it?" His question rocked her core. Would her art communicate the truth of their experience? Would it be enough? With uncertainty creeping back, Sarah swallowed hard, realizing the upcoming gala held a pivotal choice. It could either solidify her newfound stance or force her to revert to an identity shaped by others. The decision loomed like an unfinished stroke. To attend, or to fully embrace the brilliance blooming on that canvas, remained to be seen. The path before her, hazy, the weight of judgment mixed with vibrant bursts of hope. As she wrapped up for the day, a stillness settled around her. The answer beckoned just beyond reach, waiting to reveal itself. Would Sarah be brave enough to honor both her art and her journey? Or would she slip back into the shadows, uncertain of who she was meant to be? A choice was now acute, set against a backdrop painted with the vivid love of a mother, a moment teetering on the brink of profound change. Although signs of Gaia's discontent simmered around her, Sarah began the day with a resolve that infused her studio with purpose. Her heart raced not with trepidation, but with the sharp thrill of potential. A rare clarity lingered, urging her forward. What had once felt burdensome now took on the sheen of opportunity. Jake's optimism echoed in her mind. "That's what matters, right?" Those words fueled her inner dialogue, prompting her to ponder what it truly meant to create. Each brushstroke became not merely an action, but a manifestation of her voice. A voice that had stifled under expectation for far too long. As she approached the canvas, fresh from the inspiration of their last session, she felt a tingle in her fingertips. What would it mean to genuinely unveil her soul? The realization was both exhilarating and terrifying. Still standing at the crossroad, she now sensed the asphalt cracking beneath her feet, providing a way forward away from Linda's expectations. In that moment, a compelling thought arose. A new direction within her artistic identity could emerge from giving herself permission to claim ownership over her work. She asked herself, who was she creating for? The answer settled on her chest like a weighted blanket. The art must resonate with her essence as a mother and as an individual. With every stroke of color flooding the canvas, she began to intuitively relay her fears, joys, and the unvarnished truth about her journey as a creator. Each newfound layer became a testament to the conflict she had harbored within. The artist grappling with her simultaneously fragile and fierce identity. Emotion thickened in the air as she allowed vulnerability to skirmish freely with authenticity. This moment felt like a renaissance, a rebirth executed under the watchful eyes of her son. Jake was there, but in scenarios of normality, she still felt tethered to the inner struggles that plagued her. Could she juxtapose her open heart against the external pressures that loomed? Any impulse to retreat in her natural inclination towards sameness faltered at the bridge of reflection. Turning to Jake, who now immersed himself in the vibrant canvas, she saw not only her child painting beside her, but also the next generation. Innocent, unbound, and ready to embrace creativity without masks. All at once, the legacy she could empower Jake with opened a path forward. "Let's add some bold swirls at the edges," she suggested. "Let's symbolize the transformation we're making here." The childish glee on his face bolstered her determination. As the day faded into evening, Sarah stepped back for a moment of clarity. The canvas showcased the duo's shared exploration, a mosaic of textural colors entwined with undeniable love. But as the sun set, shadows lengthened in her mind. Her practice would soon clash with the specter of judgment hovering over her. Perhaps attending the gala wasn't merely about showcasing their work, but testing whether she had truly embraced this authentic self. An idea sparked in her mind, dislodging fears that had stuck in her throat. What was to come if she truly allowed her art to speak? The thought was intoxicating. A chance for liberation, a leap directly into uncertainty, yet tantalizingly fulfilling. "Mom," Jake interrupted her musings. "What if people don't like it? What if they think it's silly?" His voice brought a wave of resolve crashing through her, washing away doubts that lingered. "Then we'll know we've done something brave," she replied, heart racing with conviction. "Creating is sometimes about making noise, not always beautiful art." The notion thrilled her. What if Jake embraced that confidence, transcending judgmental eyes with the resilience she sought for herself? But how could she translate this boldness into reality when the gala loomed large, bringing alongside fear? With two choices before her, a shiver of anticipation coursed through Sarah. The moment to confront her fears drew nearer. Either she could shield herself in a comfortable facade, or she could burst forth, raw and unrefined, ready to challenge the narrative which had defined her for too long. Her heart raced. Would she venture forth, fully embodying the artist she yearned to become? Or would the chains of expectation keep her confined? Outside, dusk settled softly over the city, reflecting her internal struggle with its swirling hues. As she contemplated her next move, a sudden determination surged through her. It was time to strip away the anxiety and face personal truths. This wasn't merely an art piece. It was a reflection of her very essence. And with that, a new narrative began. Would she be able to unravel the tightly woven strands of societal expectation, revealing Jake's art-filled legacy to the world? Would she finally confront the demands that sought to consume her? The choice that would define her journey was now firmly within reach, and Sarah could almost taste the electric potential of a new beginning. The morning light spilled into the studio, washing over the canvas like a promise. Sarah stood in front of it, staring at the vibrant swirls and chaotic patterns born from yesterday's frenetic energy, as if the artwork was alive and pulsing with enthusiasm. Yet lingering doubts clung to her as stubbornly as dried paint beneath her nails. Today felt pivotal, charged with the potential to either embrace her evolving artistic identity or retreat into the comfort of old habits. Each choice presented a universe of possibilities. One path leading to exploration, freedom, and authenticity. The other into familiar shadows of self-doubt and external scrutiny. With each brushstroke, she added, vivid colors blended seamlessly, yet beneath their beauty lurked insecurities. How would the art world perceive her newfound voice? Would they understand the layers of emotion stitched into every swirl? Or would her expressions be met with indifference or worse, ridicule? The thought sent shivers down her spine. The gala was approaching ominously, a stark reminder that judgment was a breath away. Maybe I could focus on the technical aspects, she pondered, a habitual inclination to appease the critical eyes of others surfacing. But a fierce rebuttal rose from within. No, that will only stifle my expression. She closed her eyes, willing herself to channel Jake's innocent fortitude. Mom. Jake broke her reverie, his small hands gripping the edge of the canvas. Shouldn't we be happy with what we made? Isn't this art supposed to be fun? A glimpse of his untainted perspective ignited a spark within her. Yes, it should be fun, she echoed softly, but her heart responded with uncertainty. Art was, by nature, a negotiation with vulnerability, a foreign language of raw emotions. Could she bypass doubt and commit to the risk, following where joy led? As she squared her shoulders, a slow sensation of liberation trickled in. Perhaps it was time to redefine what success meant for her. What if she framed her intention around exploration, embracing the imperfections born from trying something new? With fresh clarity, she envisioned the gala not as a stage for judgment, but a celebration of artistic evolution. A chance to share her journey rather than showcase perfection. The sun brightened the studio, and exhilaration coursed through her. She picked up a brush with renewed vigor, instinctively swirling it through shades of crimson and gold, colors that exploded against the muted background of self-doubt. Each stroke spoke volumes, whispering a message of self-acceptance, as if she were reaching a handout to her past self. We're free to create, unapologetic and bold. In that moment, the very act of painting transformed. It became not merely a task, but a cathartic exercise that relinquished her former fears. Her hand danced across the canvas, liberated by the knowledge that the essence of her work did not hinge on others' approval, but on her truth. But with this awakening came the gnawing reservation about confronting Linda. The curator's standards felt like a heightening pressure, demanding conformity, a tightrope she'd avoided for too long. Sarah dropped her brush, contemplating the significance of walking into that gallery with her soul bared. It would mean rejecting Linda's judgment, and the very expectation that once defined her as an artist. "Mom, look!" Jake exclaimed, pointing eagerly at a stark patch of blue she'd forgotten. "That needs some glitter. It would make it pop." The child's enthusiasm momentarily diffused her tension. "Glitter!" she laughed, glimpsing the world anew through Jake's imaginative lens. What if embracing such playfulness was the antidote to the suffocating influence of others' perspectives? The thought filled her with buzzing hope. As they worked side by side, painting their intuitive visions, Sarah's heart began to calm. This was not just art, but a legacy woven through laughter and love, a testament to both her and Jake's unfolding creativity. Yet, looming at the edge of their lively creation, uncertainty still beckoned. Would she have the strength to showcase this honest expression? As the date approached, would she act on her commitment to authenticity, or yield to the siren call of habit and expectation? Just then, a knock broke through the euphoric haze, and her breath hitched in her throat. It was Linda wanting to discuss the gala. In the space between hope and hesitation, the moment had arrived. Would she stand firm in her newfound belief, or falter in the face of judgment? The crescendo of doubt surged again. The choice to transform her life could not wait. Resolved, she reached for the door, heart pounding with intensity as she prepared to confront the implications of her awakening. Would the balance she sought hold steadfast, or would expectations sway her back into the shadows? The answers now lay just beyond her reach. Sarah opened the door, her heartbeat echoing like a drum roll in her chest. Linda stood there, exuding a combination of impatience and curiosity. The world outside, the laughter of children, the warmth of the sun, felt distant, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of emotions churning within her. "Sarah, I was hoping we could discuss your piece for the gala," Linda said, glancing sideways into the vibrant studio. A frown creased her forehead as she assessed the chaotic beauty of the canvas. "Of course," Sarah said, her voice trembling slightly as she stepped aside to let Linda in. "I've been working on it." The words hung in the air, heavy with unresolved tension. As Sarah led Linda around the room, she felt the weight of scrutiny sharpen in the curator's gaze. "It's very colorful," Linda noted, her tone neutral yet devoid of enthusiasm. "But I wonder if it's cohesive enough for the event. You know how discerning our audience can be." The tension tightened within Sarah. She could easily slip into the old habits of appeasement and self-doubt. Yet a voice inside her resisted. She had just begun to explore the freedom of creativity. Would she really allow Linda's opinion to dictate her self-worth once again? "Cohesion is subjective, don't you think?" Sarah replied, the words surprising her as they came out. "This piece reflects a journey, a mix of emotions fueled by joy and chaos." She felt a flicker of pride, but fear intertwined with it. What if Linda dismissed that vision entirely? Linda turned, raising an eyebrow, her demeanor shifting. "Art can be a conversation, but it also needs to resonate widely. Think about what the critics will say." The phrase, "resonate widely," ignited Sarah's fiery resolve. "What if I don't want it to resonate in the way they expect? There's beauty in rawness, in expressing uncertainty, in showing our true selves." For a heartbeat they were both silent, as if the weight of Sarah's declaration hung in the air between them. Linda seemed taken aback, assessing Sarah with a new intensity. "All I'm asking is for you to be aware of the risks you're taking." Linda's voice softened, though it still carried the authority of experience. "I'm not trying to stifle your vision. I want to help you succeed." Sarah's breath hitched again, but this time not from anxiety. She thought of Jake, of the unfiltered delight he found in painting, about how she had chosen to embrace imperfections as beautiful mistakes. In that fleeting moment, Sarah realized Linda's intentions didn't need to redirect her path. "I appreciate your support, but I need to step into my own narrative. I want my truth to be seen." Linda regarded her, expression unreadable. As silence fell, Sarah felt a surge of strength ripple through her. She stood firmly, a spark of defiance igniting within her. Linda's reservations began to feel less like judgment and more like a challenge she was ready to accept. "I'll keep refining," she finally added, a hint of determination warming her voice. "But I won't sacrifice who I am in the process." The curator's lips pursed for a moment before she spoke again. "Fine. Show me what you have, then." Was it a concession or an olive branch? Either way, Sarah felt a flood of relief course through her. As they resumed discussing the art, Sarah felt walls falling away. She began to articulate her thoughts more clearly, more passionately, as if she were peeling back layers of her own hesitance. The dialogue sparked something she hadn't felt in years, a hunger for validation of her own voice, independent of external standards. And yet, amidst this burgeoning identity, doubt also simmered. Would the transformative conversation hold weight when faced with the inevitable critiques at the gala? By the end of their discussion, Sarah was exhausted, yet exhilarated. Linda finally departed, leaving Sarah alone once again with her swirling canvas and chaotic thoughts. Tension buzzed around her like the soft hum of electricity. As she turned back to the painting, a new question gnawed at her. What would it take to showcase herself authentically? How could she convey the strength she now felt within to an external audience that had always threatened to invalidate her experience? With each brushstroke that followed, she vowed to honor her journey. But lingering beneath was that relentless question. What would challenge her most? The world's perception or her own? As she pressed the brush into the canvas one more time, a new hum danced between uncertainty and determination, daring her to explore how far she was willing to stretch herself as the gala loomed ever closer. It was one thing to stand firm now. It would be another entirely when faced with the sea of eyes that awaited her. Would she flounder under their gaze, or would she rise to meet them head-on? The day of the gala dawned clear and bright, yet Sarah stood in the middle of her studio, anxiety brushing its chill upon her skin. The air felt electric, charged with the weight of her choice, and she glanced at the vivid canvas that now dripped with color, chaos, and conviction. Each stroke shared the story of her journey, her struggles and triumphs, her fears, and the defiance of her spirit. Yet doubt seeped into the edges of her mind. Would anyone understand? Would the critics see her unraveling authenticity, or merely judge the technicality? The weight of external scrutiny coiled tightly around her thoughts, but she reminded herself of the journey she had taken with her son. "Look, Mom, we made this together." Jake's words echoed, pulling her from the vortex of uncertainty. His laughter, an embodiment of innocence and joy, revived her purpose. He had taught her that art was more than just a presentation. It was about bearing your soul, a beautiful mess juxtaposed against the critique of perfection. Dressed and ready, Sarah felt the pulse of determination quickening in her veins. Instead of succumbing to Linda's critical shadows, she resolved to embrace the light she had ignited in herself. She'd step into that gallery not just as an artist, but as a mother, a creator willing to share her truth. As she arrived at the gala, the energy surged around her, lights twinkling and people mingling as laughter punctuated the air. However, her gaze drifted towards the parent crowd, specifically toward Linda, who radiated an air of controlled elegance, seemingly positioned to critique. Each polished smile and glimmering dress felt like a challenge waiting to be accepted or deferred. Sarah's heart raced, but she held on to the resolve that had pooled within since the creation of the painting. Each footstep towards familiarity ignited an inner courage, revealing that she stood resolute in her artistry, transformed by the bond she shared with Jake. This gathering could either bind her to expectations or liberate her to express herself. As she moved through the crowd, whispers of admiration buzzed around her piece, fueling her confidence. Some parents approached, genuinely interested and curious. "Your art is so evocative. It feels alive," one mother remarked, peering closer, enthralled by the vibrant colors. "Thank you," Sarah responded genuinely. With each compliment, she felt the fetters of apprehension begin to dissolve. She soon found herself wrapped in dialogue that felt spontaneous and fulfilling, no longer stifled by comparison. But when she spotted Linda across the room, anxiety gripped her anew. Her eyes narrowed slightly, assessing Sarah and her work with an air of judgment. It would be easy for her to retreat, to shrink back under the pressure of conformity. As she stood at the forefront of the gathering, Sarah remembered her promise to embrace authenticity. In that crucial moment, she took a breath and waved to Jake, who had just spotted her, waving back with abandon. There he was, her anchor amid the sea of expectations. With that spark of love and pride rushing through her veins, Sarah approached Linda, determined to stand her ground. "What do you think?" she initiated, her heart racing. Linda offered a slight nod, the mask of critique wavering as she surveyed the vibrant canvas. "It's different from your last pieces. But let's be honest. Does it connect, Sarah?" "Perhaps it connects in ways that traditional expectations don't," Sarah replied, her voice steady. "This reflects my journey as an artist and as a mother. It embodies vulnerability, the joy of creating without fear." For the first time, she sensed uncertainty creeping into Linda's expression. Her pinched brows relaxed, though fleetingly. Perhaps it was the reflection of authenticity that squeezed through Linda's rigid expectations. Without warning, the artist within Sarah surged forth. "I've been swayed by external pressures for far too long. Today, I'm choosing to stay true to my vision." She lingered on her words, revealing a layer of empowerment that crackled through her. Before Linda could respond, someone nearby interjected. "Do you mean the pressures of societal expectations? This piece feels like a conversation with the viewer." The openness in the discussion seemed to illuminate the room. People began to gather around, drawn by the articulation of her truth. Energy transformed, invigorated by what was once spinning anxiety. And there it was, the realization that had been brewing deep inside. Not only had Sarah conveyed her artistry, but she too had reclaimed her worth, recognized and validated through the willingness to share herself. She was more than an artist. She was a voice deserving acknowledgement. Feeling emboldened, she turned to the crowd with fervor. "Art doesn't need to fit into boxes. It can be messy, unrefined, and still beautiful. I've learned that creativity flourishes in solidarity, not in competition." Her words resonated through the gathered audience, flooding her with a sense of warmth and belonging. And just like that, the narrative transformed. Judgment became curiosity, and the fabric of community wove between her and the parents who stood alongside her. As the discussions continued, Sarah felt the strength of her choices reverberate through her. Each voice heeding empathy rather than judgment felt like another hash mark against the fate of her old self. The gala became a testament not only to her work, but also to the ease with which she had embraced her complexity, a far cry from the suffocating expectations that had once loomed over her. By the end of the night, she stood tall, exhilaration rushing through her as recognition dawned. The small acknowledgement of a parent who said, "Your art is an experience," felt like a lasting reward. And despite the specter of judgment that would always linger, she was no longer running from it. She had transformed the narrative around her, her father's legacy being honored through a commitment to authenticity and kindness. As the evening finally came to a close, she stepped outside, laughing with Jake in the back seat of their car, the glow of streetlights shimmering in the London sky. The weight of the gala had faded, replaced by the undeniable pride she felt as a mother, a reminder that true fulfillment lies not in competition, but in celebrating who you are. She drove home with clarity and resolve, her heart swelling with amazement at the distance she'd covered. That night marked a beginning, a path moving forward imbued with hope and tenacity, the kind of transformation that came not just from being seen, but from being true to oneself. As they reached home and Jake exclaimed his excitement about painting again the next day, she knew this was just the start of their artistic adventure together. And with that, a new chapter opened, rich with possibilities, where vulnerability coiled into strength. The future would be unpredictable, but it was theirs. and Sarah was ready to embrace the journey ahead. Now it is your turn to make a change. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire personal growth. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep these transformational stories alive. Comment below with your thoughts and theories about Sarah's journey. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand how important your voice is. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Show your support.